Chapter 1: Ensuring Safety. We arrive at Auridon's southern tip, where our ship drifts into the bustling port of 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖘. Anchoring down, we bid farewell to Captain 𝕻𝖈𝖎, for now, and step onto the shores of this vibrant new land. As the least restricted seaport in the Somerset Isles, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖑 is a crossroads of culture and commerce. Merchants, immigrants, and mainlanders alike stream through its gates, bringing with them wares, stories, and ambitions. The city's inhabitants are well versed in dealing with travelers of all kinds, creating a unique blend of elven elegance and worldly pragmatism. But beneath the surface of this cosmopolitan facade lies an air of tension. Something is amiss here, and it won't be long before we find ourselves entangled in the very heart of it. Not long after arriving, one of the city guards stops us in our tracks and directs us to meet Watch Captain 𝕱𝖑𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘, who is overseeing the city's security. If we have already dealt with the 𝕻𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘 attack on Kynarfi's roost, we can mention it to her, which we do. She promises to relay the information to the right people, but quickly shifts the conversation to another matter at hand. She will then take our name as a security precaution before asking for our help. The god's woman is clearly overwhelmed, and she needs someone like us to lend a hand. 𝕱𝖑𝖈𝖎𝖆 suggests that we assist Advisor 𝕻𝖈on and Steward 𝕻𝖈𝖎, leaving us free to help them in whatever order we prefer. Let's start with 𝕻𝖈𝖎, whom we find in one of the city's warehouses, poring over food supplies meant for the Queen's feast. She explains that 2 chefs fell mysteriously ill after handling some of the ingredients, and she's worried that there is more to it than a simple accident. She asks us to search the side warehouses for anything unusual. Soon enough, we come across a container of poisoned meat, and that's when trouble strikes. On our way out, a Heritage soldier confronts us, barking a "hold it there" before attacking. Once we have dealt with them, we return to 𝕻𝖈𝖎 with the poisoned meat, and she's relieved that we found it, but carelessly dismisses the attack as the work of a random thief. She tells us to hang on to the meat for 𝕱𝖑𝖈𝖎 and directs us to check in with Advisor 𝕻𝖈on at the docks. At the western end of the docks, we find the Advisor, standing with an air of authority outside another large warehouse. He explains to us that a burglar has broken in, attempting to steal sensitive marine deployment plans intended for the Queen's upcoming speech. With the guard stretched thin, and because we are not a part of the otherwise intimidating guardsmen, it falls to us to attempt at negotiating with the burglar and to recover these stolen documents. Stepping inside alone, we stumble upon a grim scene. An assassin, blade flashing, strikes down the would-be burglar before vanishing into the shadows. The plans discarded amidst the carnage, and they are quickly retrieved, and we bring them back to 𝕻𝖈on. Yet, rather than alarm or urgency, the Advisor greets our tale with indifference, brushing it off as nothing more than an unfortunate incident. Without addressing the strange turn of events, he sends us back to watch Captain 𝕱𝖑𝖈𝖎𝖆𝑑𝖘, claiming he must attend to the queen. Armed with incredible evidence of foul play, we approach Astanya, but she interrupts our report and brushes it aside as if it wasn't important at all to begin with. Instead, she brings up a new crisis. A wanted 𝕱𝖆𝖈, holed up inside a nearby house, threatens to end his own life should anyone try to apprehend him. The guard, unwilling to risk escalation, decides to use us as a negotiator. After all, just like with the previous thief, we aren't officially one of them, so what harm could it do? Inside, we meet Mathiisen, a desperate man with little time for pleasantries. From the moment we step in, he sees through the guard's plan to use us as a distraction, but he seizes the opportunity to warn us of a far greater danger. Captain Astanya, he reveals, is no loyal servant of the Queen. She is a conspirator within the Veiled Inheritance, a shadowy group determined to overthrow 𝕱𝖈, the Queen. With bribed guards at her command, Astanya plots to assassinate the Queen. Mathiisen pleads with us to deliver this warning directly to 𝕱𝖈, his words carrying the weight of a man with nothing left to lose. Before we can act on his revelation, Watchman Heldil and Watchwoman 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘 storm in, swiftly incapacitating Mathiisen. Heldil offers hollow congratulations on our success and assures us that Mathiisen will receive a fair trial. Though doubts linger in the air, the path ahead is clear. It is time to confront Astanya with what we've uncovered. Chapter 2: A Hostile Situation. With a growing sense of urgency, we approach Watch Captain Astanya to question her about the events unfolding in Volkelgard. But before we can get a word in, she turns the tables on us.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Accusing us of plotting to assassinate the Queen. With poisoned meat and stolen documents in our possession, Astanya has all the evidence she needs to arrest us with. Her betrayal cuts deep as she delivers a blow to our head, leaving us unconscious. When we awaken, the scene is grim. The one who had warned us of Astanya's treachery lies lifeless in the cell beside us, a cruel testament to how far this conspiracy has gone. A familiar voice breaks the silence. Razundar, the Khajiiti agent of Queen 𝕱𝖈, appears with a mix of urgency and regret. He reveals that he was once close to both Astanya and Mathiisen, but never suspected Astanya capable of such treachery. Ras unlocks the cell and urges us to act swiftly, directing us to warn the Queen and her trusted 𝕱𝖆𝖎𝖑𝖘 of the imminent danger. Slipping out of the prison, our path takes us to the bustling market, where we meet 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘, a merchant and undercover ally of Ras. She's selling souvenirs, but a whispered request for a souvenir of the first Marines points us towards a hidden chest behind her stall. Inside, we find a Volkel guard marine disguise, a clever means to slip past the city's guards without raising suspicion. Clad in our new disguise, we gain access to the temple district and meet 𝕱𝖆𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘, who seems skeptical of our claims. He insists that everything is under control, thanks to none other than Captain Astanya. But before his doubt can cast us aside, Queen 𝕱𝖈 herself intervenes, overhearing the conversation. Calm, yet commanding, she orders us to follow through on our investigation and look into the temple. Within the temple's walls, the trap is set. From an advantage point above, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖕 emerges, her betrayal now laid bare. She commands waves of assassins to strike, testing our mettle, as we fend off 6 of her lackeys in pairs. After their defeat, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖕 descends, ready to face us herself in a final attempt to silence the truth. In the end, her treachery is no match for our resolve, and she falls before her dark ambitions can be realized. Returning to Queen Ayrenn, we report the tragic confirmation of 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖕's guilt. The queen, though disappointed, remains steadfast. In a gesture of trust and recognition, she offers us the opportunity to become an elite agent in her service. And our first mission being to meet her at Tanzeilwil, an ancient ruin to the north, where our journey with the queen and her vision for the 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖘 truly begins. Right about now, we have 3 choices to make. We can either head directly to Tanzeilwil, where the queen must commune with the spirits of her ancestors, or we can choose to find the queen's entourage just east of Tanzeilwil, where we can speak with her brother, the Prince 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘, who worries that his sister may get injured or even killed while performing their ancient ritual, asking us to ensure that she survives. It is, however, entirely possible to delay this entire ordeal altogether, and instead make our ways to 𝕲𝖠𝖠 just north of the city of 𝕾𝖑𝖑𝖘. While this mission does count as a side quest rather than one of the zone's main story quests, it is linked to the Veiled Inheritance and one of numerous paths that will advance our progression towards the next chapter. Just as we make our way over, we are approached by an injured woman named 𝕱𝖑𝖈𝖎𝖆. She will thank the stars for finding us, begging us to rush to 𝕲𝖠𝖠 immediately. When asked what is going on, she will tell us that the Veiled Inheritance has set the town in flames and to follow the road up north and find the Canon Reeve's daughter, 𝕱𝖠𝖠. 𝕱𝖠𝖠 is the daughter of Canon Reeve Vallano, whom is known as the administrator of 𝕲𝖠𝖠. 𝕱𝖠𝖠 herself, on the other hand, ran the local inn until they were attacked by the Veiled Inheritance just recently. We are filled in by 𝕱𝖠𝖠 that the Veiled Inheritance has taken complete control of the town and is disguising themselves as First Auridon Marines in hopes of making it look like Queen Ayrenn would be blamed for it. Throughout our exploration of the overtaken town, we find a cellar with the real Marines tied up and bruised within. One of them introduces themselves as Captain Tandil of the First Auridon Marines. We are told that they were sent here on behest of Queen Ayrenn herself, when they walked into a trap, whereas the agents of the Veiled Inheritance stripped them of their uniforms and gear, leaving them here to burn. We help them by untying them and recovering all of their gear, quickly patching each other up before readying ourselves to retake the town. Going back to 𝕱𝖠𝖠, she claims to have witnessed 𝕾𝖠𝖠, the assistant of her father, to have taken him towards his mansion, believing that 𝕾𝖠𝖠 was the traitor who sold out 𝕲𝖠𝖠 to the Veil, and she requests of us to travel to the mansion and kill 𝕾𝖠𝖠, to set her father free and thoroughly cleanse 𝕲𝖠𝖠 from the scourge that is the Veil. However, it is soon revealed that 𝕾𝖠𝖠 had in fact uncovered evidence that Vallano was actually a member of the Veiled Inheritance all along, and it was instead the Canon Reeve who had brought 𝕾𝖠𝖠 to the mansion for interrogation purposes. Once we have successfully eliminated the threat of the Veiled Inheritance, the captain rewards us with both gold as well as gratitude, and we are prompted to head to the city of Skywatch next, though we know that we shouldn't keep the queen waiting too long, just in case anything were to happen to her. Chapter 3. To Tanzeilwil. We decide to go back towards Tanzeilwil to reassure ourselves of the Queen's safety. Our destination lies to the northwest of 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖘, a fair walk through Auridon's scenic landscape. As we follow the road, the unmistakable presence of Queen Ayrenne's entourage comes into view, halted just outside the ancient ruins of Tanzeilwil. The ruins loom ahead, with a party of worried glances in our sight. Among the gathered party is Prince 𝕾𝖈, the Queen's brother, currently deep in conversation with High Kinslady Esther, wife of the Prince and sister-in-law of the Queen herself. 𝕾𝖈 recognizes us immediately, his expression tinged with a mix of surprise and familiarity from the events in 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖘. Speaking with 𝕾𝖈 reveals the challenges facing the Queen's efforts here. The rituals needed to consecrate Tanzeilwil are not proceeding as planned. Something, or someone, has disrupted the sacred rites, leaving the entourage at a standstill. 𝕾𝖈, ever the pragmatist, entrusts us to assist in resolving these disturbances. The stage is set for us to delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding Tanzeilwil and prove our worth as the Queen Ayrenne's newest agent. Chapter 4. In the Name of the Queen. As we approach Tanzeilwil, Queen Ayrenne and 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘 prepare for the ceremonial rituals. When the Queen begins her prayer at the altar, an ancestral spirit appears, delivering an unexpected proclamation. It denounces Ayrenne as a false heir and accuses Norion, her advisor, of betrayal, before vanishing. 𝕱𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘 reacts swiftly, slashing at the spirit as it fades into nothingness. Despite the unsettling turn of events, the Queen remains resolute. She asks us to assist two priestesses performing their parts of the ritual elsewhere in the ruins, as Tanzeilwil is now teeming with hostile spirits. At the western site, we find Priestess Aranwen is surrounded by a magical shield, desperately fending off a malicious ancestral spirit named 𝕾𝖒𝖈. Aranwen cannot proceed with the ritual until the spirit is dealt with. We confront 𝕾𝖒𝖈, enduring her frost magic, and manage to banish her. With the threat eliminated, Aranwen completes the ritual, invoking the blessings of the ancestors properly. Moving to the northern site, we find Priestess Menaste under attack by waves of aggressive spirits as she struggles to complete her prayers. Together, we hold off 3 waves of spectral attackers, protecting Menaste as she performs the ritual. Once finished, the spirits acknowledge her devotion and she declares the ceremony completed. With the priestesses safe and the rituals complete, we return to Queen Ayrenne, now deeper within the ruins. She is relieved by our success, but warns that the final and most dangerous ritual lies ahead, within the crypts of Tanzeilwil. The Queen requests our company as she prepares to descend into the ancestral tombs, where the most powerful spirits dwell. Chapter 5. Rites of the Queen. With the other rituals completed, Queen Ayrenne leads us to the crypt's entrance. Her determination is unmistakable. This final ritual isn't just ceremonial, it's a test of her resolve as a ruler. Despite 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘's protests to accompany her, she insists that this trial is hers to face, though she gladly welcomes our aid. The crypt, shadowed and winding, stretches before us, a labyrinth of ancestral rest, disturbed by betrayal and dark magic. The Queen warns us that Norion, her once trusted advisor, is likely within. The spirit's emotion and the scale of their unrest points only to Norion in these events. Entering inner Tanzeilwil, we are greeted not by silence, but by Norion's mocking voice. His taunts echoes through the stone halls, sending harsh ridicule towards Irene, calling her unfit to lead, while casting himself as a servant of an enigmatic veiled queen. The crypt is now far from quiet. Norion's influence is clear. Ancestral spirit materialize in waves even more aggressive than the last. Ice masters hurl frozen shards, tempests summon gales, and blade masters strike with precision. Irene holds her ground alongside us, but the strain is evident as we navigate the dangerous and unsafe passageways of Tanzeilwil. To open the path deeper into the crypts, we must disable 2 enchanted crystals. Irene steps forward, shattering one with sheer force, while we confront and destroy the other one. The way to the ancestral chamber is revealed, and we press on. The oppressive air thickens with anticipation. Within the chamber, Norion awaits, wielding his maul and crackling lightning magic. His betrayal burns brightly in his eyes as he denounces Irene while singing praises about the veiled queen's cause. He calls upon corrupted ancestral spirits to bolster his strength and charges at us. The battle is fierce. Blade masters curse Irene's alliances, tempests deride her mercy, and sentinels accuse her of betrayal. Norion himself fights relentlessly, his lightning strikes scattering across the chamber. Though Irene cannot be felled, the fight tests her resolve as she weathers his attacks and the disdain of her corrupted ancestors. Together, we stand against him. With every strike, his arrogance falters, until at last he falls. The corrupted spirits fade, their presence no longer bound to his treachery. With Norion defeated, Irene approaches the altar, her expression a mixture of relief and determination. She begins the final ritual, invoking the blessings of the ancestors. The spirits respond with warmth and approval. They bless her reign, acknowledging her strength, and offer her their guidance. The ritual concludes, and Irene exhales. The weight of Tanzeilwil's unrest is finally lifted. She leads us out of the crypts, her steps steady and her resolve renewed. Under the open sky once more, Irene turns to us. Her gratitude is evident, and she acknowledges the risk we took to aid her, vowing never to forget it. She bids us farewell, confident in her own path ahead. Chapter 6 To Mathiisen. Battle Reeve 𝕱𝖆𝖈 approaches us immediately. Though his expression remains formal, there is an undercurrent of relief in his voice. He commends our efforts aiding the Queen, but quickly shifts focus to a pressing matter involving 𝕱𝖆𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖘. The Khajiit agent, it seems, has been following leads on the veiled inheritance and may have uncovered something significant in Mathiisen, a settlement to the northeast. Without hesitation, we are tasked to meet him and offer our assistance. The journey to Mathiisen brings us into the heart of 𝕱𝖈𝖎 craftsmanship, a town known for its skilled artisans and weaponry. Yet, as we approach, there is an unease in the air, subtle but undeniable. 𝕱𝖆𝖈𝖎 is waiting for us, perched on a rocky outcrop near the bridge, his sharp eyes scanning the town like a hawk hunting for prey. Chapter 7 putting the pieces together. 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘 fills us in on the situation, his usual confidence unwavering. He explains that we have been assigned a task to investigate the leadership of the Veiled Inheritance and any connections they might have in this town of Mathiisen. Ras has an eye for this sort of thing, and he is certain that we are perfect for the job. Mathiisen, known for its steel blades, is also rumored to supply weapons to these anarchists, an unsettling connection that we need to explore further. Our first lead is Firsthold, an agent stationed on the east side of town. She has been tracking suspicious activity, and we are to meet to exchange information with her. Firsthold's house is located just across the bridge and to the right, but when we arrive, we're greeted by an unsettling sight. Firsthold is dead, sprawled on the floor of her home. Searching her body, we find a strange note. It's cryptic and makes little sense. But it feels important, so we pocket the note and head out to find 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘. Just as we step outside, we overhear a conversation between Forge Master Kondalin and Canon Reeve 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘. They speak of preparing some cargo and ensuring that it's ready for transport. 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆's words mention delays, but what catches our attention is a mention of outsiders in the town, something we need to investigate further. We make our way towards 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘, who is now waiting behind the barracks to the northeast of Firsthold's house. He greets us with a casual yet anxious inquiry about Firsthold. When we tell him the tragic news, his demeanor shifts. He is clearly upset, but quickly focuses on the note that we found. After a careful look, he recognizes it as a code, and the reference to a rat with a blade points directly to Kondalin, the Forge Master. It seems Kondalin has a more sinister role in this than we first imagined, and Ras directs us to investigate the Forge area. We head to Kondalin's house, which is right next door to Firsthold's, through the eastern entrance near the docks, and make our way down the wooden path. Here, we find crates containing an ornament inventory detailing weapons meant for the Veiled Inheritance, and the approval of both Kondalin and 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘 is clearly marked on the documents. This evidence is what we need. We take our findings back to 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘, who is startled by the implication of 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆𝑑's involvement. He had never suspected her to be tied to the Veiled Inheritance, but now the pieces fall into place. 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘 suggests that we look further into 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝑆's activities, and as we turn our attention to her house, he tells us that it's time to stop lurking in the shadows and take a more direct approach. Canon Reeve 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝑆's home sits in the northwestern corner of town. We enter and search the large dresser in the corner, finding an officer's uniform belonging to the Veiled Inheritance. It confirms everything. 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆, it seems, is leading the inheritance here in Mathiisen, a town that has been fully corrupted to its core. When we exit her house, we find 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘 standing over the body of a dead guard. He's clearly made his move, dealing with the guard who was too much of a nuisance to be left alive. He remarks on the officer's uniform that we found, confirming that 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝑆's ties to the inheritance are undeniable. With everything laid bare, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘 is frustrated but ever resolute. The town is lost to corruption, and the only solution now is to tear it all down. It's time to act. No more hiding in the shadows. We've uncovered the truth, and now we must face the consequences and act on them. Chapter 8: The Unveiling. After uncovering the corruption in Mathiisen and exposing the involvement of Canon 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖆 and Forge Master 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 in the Veiled Inheritance, 𝕱𝖔𝖑𝖑𝖆 proposes a bold and risky strategy. He explains that to dismantle their operation fully, we must draw their attention by confronting them directly. This, he suggests, will result in our capture, allowing him to infiltrate their defenses while they let their guard down. 𝕱𝖈 provides reassurance that this is part of the plan and emphasizes the necessity of trusting him completely. Once we have thought about it and agreed, we proceed to execute the first step, gaining entry to the barracks. Approaching the barracks, we encounter Sergeant 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘 guarding the entrance, declaring ourselves an agent of the Queen and as a very important person, or more precisely, the goddamn hero. We demand access. Though skeptical, the sergeant allows us inside, where 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖆, 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆, and 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆𝖆 awaits. Upon confronting Canon 𝕱𝖈𝖆𝖆𝖆 with accusations of treason, she dismisses the claims with feigned disbelief. However, when pressed with evidence of her allegiance to the Veiled Inheritance, her mask drops. She openly denounces Queen Ayrenn, declaring her loyalty to the Veiled Queen and vowing that their cause will prevail. At her command, 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 strikes, and we are overwhelmed. As consciousness fades, snippets of 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆's orders echoes in our skull, about rallying troops, preparing defenses, and consolidating their forces to reveal their strength. Waking in a cell, we find ourselves in a bit of a déjà vu, as 𝕱𝖔𝖑𝖆 awaits outside the cell again. Amused at our predicament, he unlocks the door, offering a sly remark about his ability of rescuing us. He details the next steps of the plan. We must deal with 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 while he tracks down 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆. 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆's residence, located near Firsthold's house, serves as the next battleground for our mission at hand. Entering his home, we find him armed and defiant, ready to defend the Veiled Inheritance. After a fierce fight, 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 falls, silencing one of the key figures in the conspiracy. Rejoining 𝕱𝖈 near the forge, he informs us that 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 is cornered inside. Together, we enter the forge, searching for her amidst the chaos of fleeing Inheritance soldiers. Eventually, a trapdoor is discovered, leading to a smuggler's tunnel. Fighting through waves of Inheritance loyalists, we reach the tunnel's end, where 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 awaits. She refuses to surrender, declaring her allegiance to the still unbeknownst to us Veiled Queen. In the ensuing confrontation, 𝕾𝖈𝖆𝖆 is defeated. 𝕱𝖈 declares the Queen's justice has been served and signals the end of her treachery. Exiting the tunnel leads to the harbor, where we find ourselves swimming to shore. 𝕱𝖆 is waiting on the docks, reflective but ever resolute. While acknowledging the loss of Firstholdi, he reassures us that her sacrifice was not in vain. He thanks us on behalf of the Queen and hints at our growing potential as an agent. Offering a reward for our efforts, 𝕱𝖆 then departs for Skywatch, suggesting we meet him there for the next phase of our mission. The Veiled Inheritance stronghold in Mathiisen has been dismantled, but the echoes of their rebellion remain. Our journey continues, with 𝕱𝖔𝖑𝖆 and the Queen's eyes leading the charge against the traitorous forces threatening the entirety of the Dominion. Chapter 9 to Skywatch. Upon reaching Skywatch, Captain Tanzeilwil greets us at the western gate, having anticipated our arrival. He mentions that a message preceded us, ensuring the city's authorities were very well aware of our impending presence. Tanzeilwil reassures us that the messenger arrived safely and hands us a small reward for our service. When asked further, he directs us to 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈, who is already investigating potential threats within the city. Chapter 10 Lifting the Veil. We quickly learn of an exciting ceremony involving Queen Auridon and High Kinslady Esther. We overhear a tense exchange between the Queen and Esther regarding the Veiled Inheritance' possible threat to Skywatch. Esther, confident in her ability to handle the situation, excuses herself, leaving Auridon and 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈 with lingering doubts. Disguised as a Skywatch noble, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖑 reveals himself and shares the urgency of the situation. The Veiled Inheritance plans to disrupt the High Kinslady's veneration ceremony. To counter their scheme, we must infiltrate the ranks, starting at the 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖘 tavern. Ras then provides us with the earring of the noble 𝕱𝖑𝖈, a disguise to aid our deception. With our new appearance, we are tasked with investigating the inheritance inner workings. At the 𝕱𝖑𝖘 tavern near the docks, we use the passphrase, "The wine here is made with 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈 grapes," to gain access to the group. After speaking with the innkeeper, Kaladin, we are directed to Palomir, a recruiter for the inheritance. Palomir tests our loyalty with a task of retrieving a royal god's sword. While violence is an option, an alternative approach includes bribing, persuading, or intimidating a guard. If we prefer a quieter and more passive approach, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖑 can provide a blade for us, sparing us from harming an innocent. Once we deliver the blade, Palomir praises our potential and offers a toast to our health. However, the drink is drugged, and darkness quickly overtakes us once again. We awaken on the Veiled Isle, the inheritance secret training ground. Palomir greets us, declaring that we have been chosen as a recruit for their cause. To cement our place, we are required to take an oath to the Veiled Queen while placing our hand on a black soul gem. Though our pledge is a lie, it satisfies their tests, officially initiating us into the inheritance. Now that we've infiltrated the Veiled Inheritance, we must face further trials to prove our worth and uncover their plans. With 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈's guidance and our own determination, we will work from within to dismantle their operations and ensure the safety of the Queen's ceremony. Skywatch's fate rests on our shoulders. Chapter 11 Wearing the Veil. The earring of 𝕱𝖑𝖈 nobility from 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖑 still hides our identity effectively, and after totally pledging our soul to the Veiled Queen and her cause, Palomir informs us that we must pass 3 trials: intelligence, endurance, and strength, before being fully accepted as an officer. He emphasizes the significance of the trials and urges us not to fail, sending us to the first test, the Trial of Intelligence. Omonir he will present riddles and we must choose the correct item from the nearby tables. If we answer incorrectly, there will be consequences. So, after solving the first riddle correctly, Omonir presents a second one as the final question, and upon answering successfully, he congratulates us on proving our intellect and directs us to Varestante for the Trial of Endurance, which is a timed race around the island. She warns us that the magical markers will guide our path, and imps may hinder our progress. We accept the challenge and race through the course, avoiding obstacles and finishing within the time limit. Impressed by our performance, Varestante acknowledges our stamina and sends us to Alandare for the final trial, the Trial of Strength. Alandare, east of Varestante, challenges us to prove our strength in combat. He explains that we will face other recruits in a melee, emphasizing that only the strongest are deemed worthy of serving the Veiled Queen. We step into the combat ring and defeat all opponents, including initiate soldiers, cutthroats, ice masters, and deadeyes. Afterward, Alandare commends our toughness and welcomes us beneath the veil, encouraging us to make the Veiled Queen proud. With the trials completed, we are tasked with introducing ourselves to the Veiled Council, marking our initiation into the ranks of the Veiled Inheritance. Chapter 12. The Veil Falls. Alandare now grants us full membership in the Veiled Inheritance, as we go to present ourselves to the Veiled Council. She also hints at a speech from the Veiled Queen herself, delivered through magical projection, as the Queen remains hidden for her safety. The Veiled Keep lies to the north, near the island's summit. Upon entering the Veiled Keep, we hear High Kinslady Esther's voice, commanding her followers to search for Iren's spy. Our cover is blown. Worse, the earring of Altmer nobility fails, exposing us to every member of the Veiled Inheritance. The once neutral recruits now attack on sight. Fighting through the first hall, we spot Esther's projection at the far end. She orders her minions not to let us escape. After defeating them, we proceed to the next chamber, where the ceiling shakes, and falling debris threatens to crush us. Magical locks bar the door, but we deactivate the 3 yellow crystals to open it. As we interact with the crystals, Esther's projection appears again. Up close, her identity is undeniable. With disdain, she reveals her hatred for Iren, accusing the Queen of inviting mongrels and beasts into their cities. Esther declares her allegiance to 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖘 and her intent to overthrow Iren as the true leader of the Altmer. When the gate unlocks, we enter the 3rd chamber, where the Veiled Council, Ondikantar, 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖘, and 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖎𝖎 await. Esther commands them to kill us before her projection vanishes into nothing. The council proves formidable, each member wielding unique abilities. 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘 relies on ranged frost magic, but falls quickly. Ondikantar and 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖎𝖎 are more dangerous. But after a fierce fight, the council lies defeated at our feet. With Esther's forces in chaos, we exit the keep, fighting through hostile Veiled Inheritance members. The formerly neutral island is now on full alert. We make our way west to the dock and board the boat back to Skywatch. Rasundar, waiting outside Skywatch Manor, grows concerned as we recount the events. When we reveal that Esther is the veiled queen, he hesitates, understanding the gravity of this accusation. We convince him to trust us, and together we confront Queen Ayrenn and Esther inside the manor. Inside, Ras introduces us, asking Queen Ayrenn to hear our tale. Esther feigns innocence, scoffing at the accusation. We recount our encounter with the Veiled Council and Esther's projection. Ayrenn, initially skeptical, questions our claims. As we insist, Esther suddenly teleports away, using magic she supposedly cannot wield. Though shaken, Ayrenn thanks us for our service, acknowledging our role in unmasking the Veiled Queen. She vows to root out Esther's allies among her staff and guards, ensuring their plans crumble. With Esther's true nature revealed, the veil truly begins to fall. Chapter 13 To Dawnbreak. After Esther's escape, Queen Ayrenn tasks us with ensuring the safety of Dawnbreak, a town northwest of Skywatch, suspected of harboring Veiled Heritance sympathizers. With her campaign set to pass through the area, Ayrenn needs confirmation that it is secure. Rasundar remains behind to discuss strategy with the Queen. As we approach Dawnbreak, the aftermath of Esther's wrath is evident. Canon 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖆𝖑𝖘, stationed outside the town, warns against entering and expresses regret over the devastation. Dawnbreak has suffered greatly at the hands of Esther, and the destruction left in her wake is a worrisome reminder of her growing threat. The Canon 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖏 directs us to Londare, someone within the town who may provide insight into the situation and what steps can be taken to ensure the town's safety. Dawnbreak, now vulnerable and shaken, requires immediate attention to stabilize it and uncover any traces of Esther's lingering influence. The destruction of Dawnbreak is a critical blow both to its people and Ayrenn's campaign. We must assess the damage, gather information, and eliminate any threats that may yet remain, ensuring the Queen's path forward is secure and unimpeded. Chapter 14 Through the Ashes. Captain Londare, stationed outside Dawnbreak, explains that the town is overrun with 𝕱𝖆𝖏, halting recovery efforts until all residents are safely evacuated. She provides a list of residents to rescue and requests that we meet her in the manor house after completing the task. Londare notes that Esther left Dawnbreak hours before the 𝕱𝖆𝖏 appeared, suggesting her involvement. We are tasked with rescuing 5 residents scattered across Dawnbreak. 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖏 refuses to leave without news of her father. We can either persuade her to evacuate or bring her father's wooden pendant from his body further north. Fasaran, reluctant to leave until he finds his late wife's ring. We can retrieve the ring from a nearby basket or intimidate him into fleeing. Myrkalind is easily convinced to leave after assuring her the first Auridon Marines are present. Pirtar is trapped under rubble in a destroyed building and must be freed. Almion is found deceased along the northern path. It is his pendant that we give to 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖏 to prompt her escape. After ensuring their safety, we meet Captain Londare in the manor house. As we report back, Sergeant Artinair arrives with news that the 𝕱𝖏𝖏 have returned. Captain Londare tasks us with locating 5 First Auridon Marine patrols scattered across the town. the patrols are under attack near 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈 and 𝕱𝖕r's locations. After defeating the 𝕱𝖕rà and rescuing the Marines, Sergeant Auridon informs us that the Captain Landare has gone to investigate a cave northeast of Dawnbreak. The cave in question is in fact an abandoned mine. We find Captain Landare tending to an injured Marine. The Marine reveals overhearing Esther's conspiring with the 𝕱𝖕rà. Landare entrusts us with stopping the ritual while she escorts the injured Marine back to Dawnbreak. Deeper in the mine, we confront 𝕱𝖕ric forces and close the portal. Learning from the foolish 𝕱𝖕rà that Esther's next target is Firsthold. Once we exit the mine and return to Dawnbreak to report to Captain Landare, she commends our bravery and rewards us for ensuring the town's safety and disrupting Esther's plan. After saving Dawnbreak, Captain Landare will ask us to report to the Marines at Firsthold. Chapter 15. To Firsthold. Once we draw near to Firsthold, we find a group of Marines and refugees on the road north of the Firsthold way shrine. We speak to a Firsthold guard named 𝕱𝖈 to warn her about the 𝕱𝖕rà, though it seems like we are too late, as she confirms our worries. The attack is already underway, and Firsthold is overrun by 𝕱𝖕rà, as portals to Oblivion open up across the city. Chapter 16. Breaking the Barrier. 𝕱𝖈 directs us to battle Reeve 𝕱𝖆𝖈 at the Mages Guild. 𝕱𝖆𝖈 explains that Esther has sealed the castle and the portals within a magical barrier. To break the barrier, the wards protecting it must be destroyed. He sends us to Sinien, inside the guild hall, for further instructions. The eyes of the Queen, working under Rasundar, have stepped into the fight despite their usual secrecy. Sinien's guild mages are lending their magical expertise to the battle ahead, and 𝕱𝖆𝖈's elite guards stand strong alongside the first Auridon Marines to repel the threat of the 𝕱𝖕rà. Sinien then provides us with a runed talisman and explains that we will act as a focus to destroy the magical wards. The wards are located on opposite sides of the city. The western ward is across from the Mages Guild. The eastern ward lies beyond the bridge to the east. Using the talisman, we destroy both wards, breaking the barrier around the castle. After completing the task, Rasundar meets us near the wards to discuss the next steps in preventing Esther's plans. The fate of Firsthold and the safety of Queen Ayrenne's domain remain at stake. Chapter 17. Sever all ties. With the wards destroyed, Rasundar urges us to confront Esther and eliminate the 𝕱𝖕ric threat. To stop the invasion, we must close the Oblivion gates by destroying the sigil stones that sustain them. The first gate, just north of our position, leads to the Refuge of Dread. Inside, we follow a narrow path, clearing 𝕱𝖈rà and activating 4 braziers to dispel a barrier protecting the sigil stone. Destroying it collapses the portal, returning us to Firsthold. Now 2 more gates remain. The western gate, which is blocked by the clan fear monstrosity known as Marrow. The eastern gate, which is guarded by a spider 𝕱𝖕rà named 𝕱𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖘. And once each of the stones are destroyed, it weakens Esther's connection to Oblivion and brings us closer to the final confrontation. With the gates closed, Rasundar gathers us and the remaining defenders for the assault on Castle Firsthold. Esther has retreated to the Refuge of Dread. clinging to 𝕾𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖘's power. Joined by 𝕱𝖔𝖑𝖑𝖕, Battle-Reeve and Cinnæan, we enter the final portal to face Esther. Our final portal is on an island surrounded by lava, and it offers no retreat. Esther summons flame astronauts to shield herself, making them our top priority. Destroying these guardians weakens her defenses, allowing us to strike at her. When Esther falls, her Daedric ambitions collapse, but one task remains: destroying the final sigil stone to seal her fate and end her influence. Once our job is done, we report back to Castle Firsthold, where 𝕱𝖔𝖑𝖑 commends our heroism. Queen Ayrenn herself awaits outside the castle to acknowledge our efforts. She mourns Esther's loss, but applauds our unwavering dedication to the Aldmeri Dominion. With Esther's threat extinguished, the Dominion's future shines ever brighter, thanks to our bravery and our own resourcefulness.